Hi, today I want to make this video on surveillance, but it won't be my material, although I might add my own material to it. What it is it was a blog I made in about 4 years ago, and it was that in 2001 I watched on TV a documentary that was written and directed by a good producer, or good director, Kate Williams, and it was on surveillance, and it was called Surveillance of Paranoia Years, although it was a series of four documentaries that she made, but you can't actually find them on the internet. I then made a blog, and I did give the URL for the website that tells you who directed what, but it's been removed, I note, so I will put up the new URL for it to show you that yes, it did exist, but it doesn't exist, it don't seem no more. But what I found was, about 4 years ago, I found a notepad where I'd written down all the things that were important in the documentary, because at the time I'd been under surveillance since about, well, to my knowledge, since about 1996, but it might have been before that. And so this was 2001, and I videoed it off the TV, but I don't still have it, and took notes. So I wrote those notes and put them in a blog on Blogspot, and it gets loads of views, so I thought, well, let me try and put it into a video form so that people who watch videos could actually gain the information. So the information is what she collected, put together, and then presented in a really good documentary, and so these are just my notes from her documentary. Here we go. I mean, I don't know it all off by heart, so I have to just go through what's written, so bear with me. So she's saying that surveillance of paranoia years. So she says the 50 years of Cold War was the paranoia surveillance. State paranoia, state voyeurism. The more it looked, the more it hears. The more it wants to hear, what wants to look. And what she was saying was, like, the more that they tried to survey people, then the more they needed to look more, because it's like power's nothing without total control. If you don't have all the information, you've got nothing, because you get lost, and then they get obsessed with it. And this is what she's saying, is different forms in different countries, but all took on pathological of proved proportion, which is saying, yes, they got paranoid in themselves, that they were missing a bit. So even though they're surveying you, or whoever they're surveying, they're getting paranoid that you're aware, and you may be hiding things from them, or they may not have all the information, so they get obsessed in a way, because that's the energy of it, I suppose. So you've got a surveillance psychosis in the people who did the surveillance, where no amount of watching is never enough. Need to know everything, or don't know nothing, and because can't know everything, you always know nothing. The first thing was to induce a sense of fear. Watch potential subversives, which was like people that may do something that's not along with the status quo, not going along with all the rules that are set out for us. And then they use wiretapping, and they need approval for it, which in a sense still they need approval nowadays. And yeah, you have to go to the judge and so forth, and you have to have good reason. And then they'd use bugs, but the thing is with bugs is, it's like, now you can have this place bugged, but it will pick up everything, which is fine. But if I was to play a radio or something, it will pick up the radio, and it does mess things up. If there's other things going on, it's like it can't differentiate. I mean, they might be able to nowadays, but they couldn't. The normal dictaphones and that can't differentiate from what. So the bug would pick up everything, and there's no accountability. They need to break in to plant the bugs, and the workers had to find out your daily routine and speak to your landlord and get keys, and basically it's illegal, and they're on their own. So even if they're being paid by intelligence to do it, they can't. If they get caught, they can't be saying, "Oh, well, it was our job." So they have no identity to carry, linking them with intelligence, not known by them if caught. So it's like, yes, they are on their own, even though they carry on big and bad, like they're part of the big mob lot. But on their own, if they're caught, they're on their own. So the people who are under it, you have to bear that in mind. It's like I've done things like take photos and things, and they don't like it because they're singled out. So other types of surveillance is they let you know you're being watched. And she's given a quote, "Just because you're paranoid don't mean you're not being followed." So they create paranoia. Surveillance is real tight so that you notice it. So they tail in your car or they're on foot to create paranoia, to drive you to the edge. And so yes, so you have some people, and nowadays we call it gang stalking and that, where they'll follow you to make sure you know. They want you to know. But again, it's about, well, turn around and take a photo of them, or you can weaken it, but this isn't how to deal with it. This is just a documentary I wanted to cover. So I don't want to get too, also the video go on forever. To create paranoia and drive the person to the edge, right? And then they want to make it obvious. So you think they're everywhere. They weren't, but then you'd believe they were. So it was to make you paranoid, to make you think, and they're not everywhere. I mean, yes, technology nowadays, yes, it can track your phone and so forth, but they're not everywhere, and they don't want to be watching. It's like, it's not how it's meant to work. It's like they just want you to think, to become paranoid. They don't want to have to be paranoid to be everywhere, because it would take too many people to follow these people everywhere. So they just want to make it look that way. So they watch you for years. This is intelligence. They watch you for years, irrelevant of whether you commit a crime. So it can go on for years, and then their paranoia is you search until you find. So even if they don't find anything, they never stop looking, because they're paranoid that they might be missing something, so they've got to keep going on looking. So it's creating paranoia in them, and once seen as a security subject, they follow forever. So once you're on their security, your risk to security, then they see you forever. So even if you say, "Oh, I'm not, I'm just going to plant daisies and make jam," it's like, no, that's it's just a ploy. So they can't let you off. And so another thing there was of it was it's inaccurate, because it would be what friends told them, and then they'd talk to the FBI and they obtained the files through the Freedom of Information Act, but the files would be full of falsehoods and truths, because about perfectly legal conduct, because they're sort of adding in, they're trying to make sense of your conduct, so they could see it as you're doing something, she went and gave someone some money, and it's like, and in there, oh yeah, money laundering, and it's like, no, just owed them some money or something, but it will be interpreted wrongly. So lack of evidence or any threat seen as a sign that they've not got enough surveillance. And paranoia affects the whole surveillance operation. Even when nothing's found, they won't quit. So in Britain, because different countries did it differently, although they're similar, but in Britain is different to the USA. This is years ago as well. This is near Cold War, and so I don't know about today. Things are changed, but this is talking years ago. So in Britain it was different from the USA, and it was considered quite, not so much equipment, more through conversations to discover who was or was not being to be trusted, thus keeping potential subversives out of positions of influence in the public life, e.g. journalists which support the state. So if they didn't, they wouldn't be getting no job, or if they were subversives that didn't really go along with the status quo, then yes, keep them under surveillance. They may be sympathetic to foreign powers or ways of life that isn't exactly British. They'd watch students. The BBC was seen to be clean of political undesirables, and MI5 held lists not to be appointed, handed over to the BBC, and they had been vetted. Special stamps were on personal stamps were on files, like a Christmas tree, meant other files were held elsewhere on the security papers. So just little marks on your files that mean nothing to some people, only those in the know. In the USA, first they were looked at looked for communists, and then in the 60s they invented a new target they created, which was the civil rights movement, e.g. Black Panthers and that. And so they've seen the problem, and the info couldn't be used as obtained illegally, so they used it to discredit individuals. So discrimination used to raise questions on integrity and character of the individual, thus their movement purposeful monitoring, so they could justify, And then you have COINTELPRO, specifically designed to destroy suspects, target specific organisations with 1, harassment, 2, disruption, and 3, discrediting. So yes, they'd be working, individually. Black Panthers were targeted. The techniques used against them was 1, to plant information reports, 2, to say sleeping with one's wife, 3, talk to their employers and get them fired, 4, get them put in jail, didn't need to violate laws. Any organisation heard of will be investigated. Surveillance itself created investigation. The more known, the more they wanted to know. And they collected so much intelligence. Intelligence and mafia are responsible to no one but themselves. Well, she says that, but I wouldn't necessarily agree. But they're not answerable to many people. Stasis in East Germany, they also interested in emotions and feelings and desires and your weaknesses, the weaknesses of a people. But in the end, they got into extreme, and that's where you see, well, you can carry on doing your surveillance and you're just going to get your psychosis, because they had 1 to every 200. So for every one person, it's 1 to 200 ratio. So yes, it was spied on to control the population. The pathology of surveillance needs to grow. So it's like they just have to have more, because it's never enough. So they just keep looking for more and more, and then that's how it grows. And then they've just got too much information, really. Always have to expand the structure. Every aspect of society was watched. No age exceptions. And yeah, they would in Eastern Germany, then they'd monitor the kids in school, because they might be telling you what their parents have done and so forth, and and they've got ideas in their head, and they're going to have potential to become a problem later to the state. And the result was that they must learn to decide you had to, if you was under it, you had to decide who was your friend and who was not your friend. And then because of that, you end up controlling yourself, and you feel alone. Because if you're in that position of well, I don't really know whether this is a snide coming at me to be my friend or not, you have to be careful. So then you end up with reducing the number of people that you are willing to be friends with, because it's risky. And then yes, you end up being isolated, which is another one of their agendas, really, I'd say nowadays anyway, is to isolate you, to make you isolated. Open surveillance was an active view of psychology with the individual, on behalf of the individual, but also against the individual. The principles of surveillance is to turn the subject into informers, but other uses. So yeah, as well, they can watch you, or watch whoever they want to watch, and then they'll get information by watching you, and so then they can have others under surveillance via you, so you end up being like their little spy in a sense by default. They had methods for creating fear, love and care and trust in relationships. But if people refuse to take up hands of friendships, they become more aggressive in their form of surveillance that they did. They'd make it more obvious. So yeah, they try to, like, if they need to get information and you don't make friends with anyone because you're aware that they could be snide, so you're not making friends easy, and so they're sending them in but it's not working, then they're going to get more aggressive because they haven't got their opening. So then they'll do things like ringing your doorbell anytime, day and night, and open your mail, and things happening in your home. And the aim is to make you insecure. Everything you do is known to us. With everything, we see everything, which is, yes, Big Brother's watching you. And so you'd have no private space, because you feel that you'd find microphones, or you'd see them in the house near your bed. I found one in my car. You make things. It makes you think, what do they want to know? And yeah, because when they were watching me, it's like, I don't know why you're watching me, because I'm not doing anything. I was working with drug users. It's like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I was trying to help them. And all behaviour is all behaviour is influenced by security's actions. So, because of being under surveillance, then your behaviour and your thoughts have to take that into account. You can't not. So then that affects how you think and affects how you carry on. It's like a lot of the time my phones are not switched on and so forth. Society becomes dysfunctional. You change behaviour. You write in love letters, non-reality, and think over things before. Like, should you say that you love someone, or should you hide that fact? And you end up with two realities, one real life and one pretend life, to create a second level of reality. The surveyors themselves couldn't distinguish themselves between the false realities. They themselves would project their own obsessions onto the subject, and reading files you read the files nowadays, and you get facts, but they've got their own weaknesses that they've transferred onto the opponent, it says here. So their interpretation of what you're doing goes into the file too. So then the file is not much use because it's not true. It's not accurate. Almost everybody surveys find reports of 2 or 3 sexual relationships that they never had, and it's not reality. May have liked to have had. So yeah, it's like they're seeing you having more sexual relationships than you actually do, because you may be expressing something, and they think, oh yeah, because in their twisted head they think it's all going on, and the files are full of sexuality that's not true. The psychosis caused by total surveillance made it impossible for the system to survive. Climate in society died, this is in East Germany, and all relations were out of depth. It is against human nature to be controlled. State paranoia not going away, she says. Now 50 miles of spy corridors in USA. Well, this is back in 2001 that documentary was made. So 50 miles of spy corridors in USA. And this was released before the sort of internet took off, so please. And the British GCHQ, they claim they only watched the new enemy within, the terrorists and the drug dealers. But some say their philosophy is to watch all of us just in case. Conduct broad mass surveillance. All babies watch to see who they will turn out to be. So yeah, that is it really of what I got of my notes. Only a little notepad I've written on the documentary. It'd be lovely if it was online or available again on TV, but it's not. And yeah, as I say, I even copied the URL of showing where the documentary she made, and then it's like that today I looked for, and it's like no, that no longer exists. And so yes, they remove things, and yeah, as I say, the blog goes down well, so I'll give you the link for that too. And yes, it's like, this is, you know, you can tell it's really the validity of something, because it's like nowadays we've got even bigger surveillance because we've got the net and, you know, and phones, mobile phones, everyone's got one in their pocket, so it's very trackable. But it's like, yeah, a lot of my stuff gets hidden, where you see other people and it'll be like thousands and thousands of hits, and you wonder why. And then like today I was looking, and one of my friends has some very good information, but all of what she's said has been removed. All the interviews she's done on videos have been removed from YouTube, and the web pages are gradually disappearing that she says anything in, because it's the truth, and it's the truth that they don't want known, and the truth that what they do is they get people to, their puppets or whatever, people who don't know all the information, to share 95% of the truth, and then there's 5% twaddle in there. But people don't know. If they don't know, then they'll listen, and if it's got thousands and thousands of hits, then they'll go, oh yeah, that must be a really good one. Well, it's not. It's actually reversed. And if I see thousands of hits, I wouldn't trust something. Where if I see, oh, something's only got a few hits and it sounds like they're talking a lot of sense, it's like, well, why has it only got a few hits? And I know on one of my videos, I think it's on one of my gang stalking videos, that someone's put on the comment some site that's in Australia, I think, to do with murders, and they said on the comment, like, the number never changes, and it's quite high, but it doesn't change. I tried it and it doesn't change, and it's like, these are the things that we need to be mindful of. So I hope that I was clear in the video. I don't know whether I was going too fast or too slow or what it's going to come out like, but I thought make it, and I'll try and add bits and bobs to write over the top of the video like I've learned to do. And well, I wish you all well, and stay peaceful, and know that Jesus said the truth will set us free. We shall know the truth, and the truth will set us free. So I believe that. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.